Welcome to A Century of Cinema. Today I will be exploring my favourite films of 1955. First up, Otto Preminger's The Man with the Golden Arm. Loosely based on Nelson Algren's novel of the same name, it stars Frank Sinatra as Frankie, a reformed junkie who returns to his old neighbourhood, reunites with his supposedly disabled wife Zosh, played by Eleanor Parker, who actually can walk and is using the disability to keep Frankie around. Frankie's little buddy Sparrow, Arnold Stang, follows him around like a loyal puppy, and he reignites an old flame with Kim Novak's Molly, who becomes Frankie's source of strength and emotional support. However, with the encouragement of drug dealer Louis, Darren McGavin, Frankie again finds himself with the monkey squarely on his back. This is, in my opinion, Frank Sinatra's greatest work as an actor, and though there are other things to recommend about The Man with the Golden Arm, such as Otto Preminger's excellent direction, a very good supporting cast, particularly Eleanor Parker's career best turn as the thoroughly maddening Zosh, and a particularly effective Oscar-nominated Elmer Bernstein score of understated orchestral work punctuated by energetic, aggressive jazz. But it is Sinatra's exceptional, ahead-of-its-time performance as the likable junkie Frankie that is the standout.
And I won't run into no grave. But kicking it. Look, a guy can't do it by himself.
Sinatra masterfully takes us through the journey of an addict, beginning from the point of initial recovery to stolid resistance, to just how upsettingly simple it is to relapse, on to desperation and an unflinching look, particularly by 1955 standards, at the agony of withdrawal. And what makes all this more engaging is your affection for Frankie. He's a genuinely good guy. You want him to get that job as a drummer, get together with Molly, and most of all, to get off the junk. There were some exceptional performances by leading actors in 1955, some of which I'll get into later, but for my money, Frank Sinatra's Oscar-nominated work in The Man with the Golden Arm takes the cake. So he's my choice for Best Actor of 1955. Ingmar Bergman's Kvinnodrom, Dreams, is essentially two separate stories connected by two protagonists. Harriet Anderson plays Doris, a young model who works for Eva Dahlbeck's Suzanne, who owns her agency. Suzanne and Doris head to Gothenburg for a shoot, and so Suzanne can meet with her married lover. The trip causes an argument between Doris and her boyfriend, due to the time apart it necessitates. In Gothenburg, Doris meets Otto, a very wealthy yet lonely older man, played by Gunnar Bjornstrand, who insists on buying her expensive items. The time spent with Otto causes the embittered Suzanne to fire Doris, who soon runs into Otto again, and the two spend the day together, ending at Otto's home, until they are interrupted by Otto's bitter and manipulative daughter, which puts an end to their time together in a particularly cold and dismissive fashion. Then Suzanne meets with her lover until they are interrupted by his wife, who coolly and correctly asserts that her husband will never leave her. Suzanne's story bookends the film and is visually the more atmospheric section of the film, yet for me, the heart of it, literally and figuratively, is Doris's story. Harriet Anderson again demonstrates just how well she is suited to Bergman's work. Her brightness elevates the film out of the depressive murkiness of Suzanne's story. It is by no means a happy series of events, but Anderson's lilting and effervescent performance, alongside Bjornstrand's stoically heartbreaking turn as Otto, is a joy to watch. And there are still enough gorgeous Bergman touches to make it visually arresting too. Although Doris could clearly be seen as using a lonely old man for free stuff, she never seems malicious or opportunistic. In fact, for a while it seems like they are both just helping each other through a rough time. Doris gets a little drunk and flirty, but Anderson expertly manages to portray the innocence of her actions, even at that point. I love her in this role. So Harriet Anderson in Kvinnodrom is my choice for Best Actress of 1955. Marty, directed by Delbert Mann and written by Paddy Chayefsky, stars Ernest Borgnine in the titular role, an earnest but lonely man in his mid-30s. As Marty's aunt is about to move in with he and his mother because his cousin's wife wants to build a life with her husband, Marty meets Clara, played by Betsy Blair, who has just been unceremoniously ditched by her blind date. She and Marty start talking, spend the evening together, and share a real bond. He is overjoyed and vows to call her the next day. However, his mother and friends start to frown on the budding relationship for their own selfish reasons. His mother worries about being left on her own like her sister, and his friends just want him to stay single, to be the guy they call when there's an extra girl, or as is the case with his best friend Angie, so he doesn't have to be left on his own. So Marty ends up not calling when he said he would. Thankfully, he realizes that he's being a complete idiot and rectifies things immediately. The second of those aforementioned great lead actor performances of 1955, this one actually won Ernest Borgnine the Oscar. Maybe I gave Sinatra the edge because I was still mad at Borgnine for killing him in From Here to Eternity. Regardless, it is the role of Borgnine's long career. Marty would go on to win Best Picture, Director, and Screenplay at the Oscars, and also pick up the top prize at Cannes, only the second film to claim that and the Oscar, the first being The Lost Weekend. In fact, to date, it has only ever happened 3 times, the third being 2019's Parasite. This film certainly deserves the high praise, and even though the rest of my superlatives are going to other films, I simply cannot find a better screenplay in 1955 than Paddy Chayefsky's Marty. Expanded from his teleplay, it is a simple and beautiful story of love and loneliness, so relatable for anyone who has ever felt unattractive or unwanted. The characters of Marty and Clara are incredibly grounded in reality and so completely endearing that you are desperate for them to get together. And the dialogue is not fancy, but it is sublimely honest. So Marty, written by Paddy Chayefsky, is my choice for best screenplay.
Comes New Year's Eve, everybody starts arranging parties. I'm the guy they gotta dig up a date for.
Finally, Nicholas Ray's Rebel Without a Cause. The second of James Dean's 3 major film roles, which he made just before his untimely death at the age of 24. He plays Jim Stark, a troubled teen arrested for being drunk and disorderly. At the station are 2 other teens, Natalie Wood's Judy, there for a curfew violation, and Sal Minio's John, who goes by Plato, who killed a litter of puppies. Throughout their police interviews, it is revealed that each one has a parental issue which is at the root of their behaviour. The next day, Jim begins his first day at his new school, where he befriends Plato and draws the attention of Judy's hoodlum boyfriend Buzz, who goads Jim into a knife fight and a chickie run, which results in Buzz's death. As Buzz's buddies, including a young Dennis Hopper, search for Jim to take some kind of misguided revenge, Jim, Judy, and Plato all hide out in a deserted mansion and begin to simulate the kind of family they all crave, until Buzz's buddies enter and set off a chain of events leading to tragedy. This is another one of those performances, that of James Dean, which could have very easily taken out Best Actor for 1955. It is a very solid cast all around, actually. Wood and Mineo beautifully complete the trinity with Dean. Jim Backus as Jim's dad is probably the standout of the supporting cast for me, perhaps because I'm just not used to seeing Mr. Howell so serious. Edward Platt, the chief from Get Smart, is solid and likable as the juvenile officer Rick, and William Hopper, as Judy's dad, comes across as somewhat unsettling. But with this mention of Paul Drake, I just need to add a movie with Barbara Hale, and I have Perry Mason bingo. Nicholas Ray does an excellent job crafting iconic scene after iconic scene and orchestrating the varying styles of his cast like a maestro. This is easily his masterpiece. Even though Rebel Without a Cause is so very much of its time, it is still an incredibly enjoyable watch now. Well written, well acted character introductions at the police station, action and excitement with a knife fight, chickie run and climax, and beautiful depictions of friendship and longing for familial love and stability. It is a true classic, and is my choice for Best Director Nicholas Ray and Best Picture of 1955. Join me next time on A Century of Cinema when I will be discussing my favourite films of 1956. Now go watch a movie.